Good morning, and welcome to the inaugural episode of KTZed Redemption. Welcome in, everybody, where it's always morning, even in the afternoon. I love that phrase, and I want to keep that no matter what the hell the Monday night show is here. But welcome, everybody. This show is going to be taking a little bit different direction than what you guys are used to for the Monday show. But we are here, and the news stops for nobody here, and we have got plenty of news to get to. My name, of course, is Jay Edgar, and I am joined, as always, now on the other side of the screen by the wonderful KTZed. Katie, how was your week?
Well, it's been better. We've had a little bit of illness in our house, but I'm doing fine. So hopefully I got some of that natural immunity.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of illness in this house too right now because as most people who watch Contemporary saw that I got the comic oof this week. And my symptoms are already all gone, so that's the nice part of it here. But yeah, it's it's been quite a week, I can tell you that, or quite a day. It's you were here last week, of course, obviously when we did the introduction. But other than that, before that, it's been a few weeks here. How have you been? How are everything going for the last couple weeks?
Everything's been going great. Besides the sickness, things are normal.
That's good. That's good. All right. We've got a lot of news to get to this week, and, it's been 3 weeks as well, so we've got to get right into it here. So let's have a look at what we've got going on this week. A little bit nervous right now, too, new show, everything else. I know you said that you were kind of psyching out about this, too, but...
I was, but that's just because I'm a little crazy, so, You're supposed to be the one holding this shit down, so get your shit together, Ed.
Oh. If I'm supposed to be holding this shit down, we're all fucked.
Yeah.
But this week, we've had the vaccine mandate oral arguments started on Friday, and they continued into today a little bit as well. So we'll talk just a bit about what happened with that and some of the news articles that go with that, including a statement from Justice Sonia Sotomayor, who was fact-checked even by PolitiFact. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that. Perhaps one of the biggest pieces of news this week was the January 6th memorial happened. President Biden gave a speech. He actually broke that in, and we watched that over on Contemporary live as it was going on there. And trust me, if you want to talk about a scary fucking speech, holy shit, I was terrified by that speech. But We'll talk just a bit about what's going on there, plus an AP smear piece about Ashley Babbitt. Pelosi and Kamala both gave a speech, and attempts to bar Congresspeople and the former president himself from holding office. We'll talk just a bit about that. The COVID is in full swing, and we'll be talking a little bit about DeSantis' absence and the accusations that were laid against him. Plus, AOC, who got caught in Miami, maskless, and, she wound up getting the coup as well. So we'll talk just a bit about that. Plus, I got a video of Buccaneers Antonio Brown pulling his jersey off mid-game and walking off the field. And 2 members of The View also got their breakthrough cases, so we'll talk just a bit about that. We will close out the show talking about the Kazakhstan Uprising, what's going on with that, what an actual insurrection looks like versus what we're seeing here, and the fact that Psaki had to assure us that the CIA is not the cause. Plus, I got a little bit of a brief surprise stupidity off of here. It's not a big one like some of them we've seen, but it's still stupid. As always, to end out the show here over on KTZed Redemption. By the way, thank you once again for the backdrop card for this. You and Sewell kind of worked together there, and I adjusted the description off of that. Let me just pull my screen down here for just a second here, because this one it's very memey. I don't know if everybody has seen this one here, but I enjoyed the way that it's looked, and I know you like memes so much. You have a meme on the outside of your house.
I do, absolutely.
We're tired of hiding the bodies.
But
the backdrop here is very memey. It's very good. This was Steven's idea for the name of the show, and I liked it. And Sewell even came together and put the title or the actual title text off of there, and that couldn't have turned out any better either.
If you ask me to do art, it's going to look like a meme. That's all I know how to do.
Well, I know when I was talking to Sewell about it, and I asked him, I said, "Hey, can you kind of make this title card look like what it looks like on the front of the video game?" He's like, "Hold on, I found the font for it, the actual font."
Sweet.
Okay. And that's what we got. But it is going to be all this and more over on KTZed Redemption. Thanks for checking us out live over on YouTube, DLive, Twitch, Periscope, and Facebook as well. Thanks for checking us out on all those platforms. And if you can't catch us live, you can catch us back on demand over on YouTube and over on BitChute.com. Or if you'd rather take us on the go, because I'm off for 5 days, it's going to be the perfect time to get caught up in the audio platform. You can find us over on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Play, and Stitcher. So find us on any of those platforms on the audio as well. You can take us on the go. That's going to be one of your best ways to come back and do this as well. And if there's a platform that you'd like to see us on, I know I'm looking at going into Rumble, Odyssey, stuff like that as well, or another podcast platform that you'd prefer off of this, just let me know, and we'll see if we can't get signed up for it over there. So, and lastly, go check out turnsofpagesproductions.com, your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs, where you'll be able to find great shows such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, the upcoming project with Britt and Sean Hickman. Go check that out. Also, The R-Rated Conservative and The Porch Boy. So go check out all those shows, plus a new show that will be joining us on launch as well. New fundraiser will be coming this week as well. So, with a lengthy introduction here, we've got a bunch of stuff to go over. Are you ready to do this?
Ready. Let's rock and roll.
All right. The first thing, of course, we've got to talk about here is we had to say goodbye to Bob Saget, and there's some interesting stuff that's been coming out about this as well. The 911 call, the police saying the unresponsiveness off of this, but just on the basic details of what we're seeing up here, comedian actor Bob Saget found dead inside Orlando hotel room, deputies say. Reading here from Fox 35, the Orange County Sheriff's Office confirmed the death of actor and comedian Bob Saget on Sunday. Saget was 65 years old. In a tweet, the Sheriff's Office said deputies were called to the Ritz-Carlton, Orlando, for a call about an unresponsive man in a hotel room. The Sheriff's Office identified the man as Robert Saget, pronouncing him dead at the scene. According to the tweet, detectives said they found no signs of foul play or drug use. So are we going to get to the point now where it's just going to be the celebrity death of the week? Is this going to be like 2018 all over again?
It sounds like it's going to be. We've had 3 in the last week, right?
Well, since New Year's, because Betty White was before the end of the year, yeah.
Yeah.
Like she didn't make it to 2022.
Yeah.
And now we've got Saget.
They're all getting their boosters right about now.
Yeah. And the Robert Durst, I'm not sure who that guy is. I saw that one coming off today. But...
Oh, that's a 4th one. Where Sidney Poitier died as well 2 or 3 days ago. So, and then Robert Durst is actually, he's not necessarily a celebrity, but I guess kind of, he was a rich guy that killed a few people. I almost said a bunch of people, but it was only 3. So, you know.
Yeah.
He should have been dead a long time ago. He killed his wife in like the 80s or something.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know enough about that. But, I mean, with Saget, I know that people are talking about the vaccine booster. They're talking about, well, drugs, obviously, even though the sheriff's office says there's no drugs or any foul play off of this. But, I mean, it does seem a little bit weird, comparatively, compared to other people that have passed away. He was relatively young, only 65.
I mean, my dad passed away at 63 of natural causes. So, I mean, it could have been a heart attack or something like that.
That could be. But
and my dad was not one to be on the drugs and that sort of stuff. So, you know, it happens. Yeah. But it might have, you know, the vaccines have a lot to do with your heart health. So if he did have a heart attack, I wouldn't rule out a connection, you know?
Yeah. So we'll see what's happening with that. Going back and talking about Betty White as well. I saved this one, even though it's a couple weeks old here. Betty White, TV's Golden Girl, dies at 99. Reading from 25 News. Betty White, whose saucy up for anything charm made her a television mainstay for more than 60 years, whether as the man-crazy TV hostess on the Mary Tyler Moore Show or the loopy housemate on The Golden Girls, has died. She was 99. White's death was confirmed Friday by Jeff Witchias, her longtime agent and friend. She would have turned 100 on January 17th. I truly never thought she was going to pass away, Witchias told the Associated Press. She meant the world to me as a friend. She was the most positive person I've ever known. Yeah, and I had no idea because the day that all that happened, I was driving home. I didn't find out about it until I got home that night.
When I first found out about it, I thought it was a joke because so many times people started posting on Twitter that she had died and she hadn't. So
Yeah.
I didn't believe it at first. But yeah, she did a lot of work with animal rescues and helping animals, and I really appreciate that about her. So I just wanted to mention that because I
Yes.
also do that. So kind of feel a kinship with Betty White.
I think a lot of people did, really. I mean, she was the one that everybody talked about as
She's
they were
everybody's
going on.
grandma. Everybody's
Yeah.
grandma. Yeah.
So, F's in the chat for Betty White and Bob Saget. Let's keep going here. Let's grab one from our friends over at NPR. Facebook has suspended Marjorie Taylor Greene's account over COVID misinformation, which has been kind of interesting. And of course, she was just on Timcast not that long ago either. So I think we're going to be talking about that next. No, I don't know if I have that up here or not. I don't know if I put that up on the lightning round. I might actually have to go back into the document and go grab some of that because I really wanted to talk about the Timcast thing. But yeah, Facebook, Twitter all came together and banned Marjorie Taylor Greene this past week.
Yep.
Seemingly out of nowhere. She says she thinks she knows what the last tweet that was that got her was, but I mean, we'll never know. But what did you see out
I
of
don't
this?
know what tweet got me. Like, I have no idea what, like, it sucks for her because I know what it feels like. And it's, they can just do whatever the hell they want. She didn't have to do anything wrong. She could have just, they could have just done it and never told her what it was that got her. So, I don't know what it was she was tweeting. I don't know which tweet it was that she thinks was the one, but
Well, I mean, with her, there actually, I believe, was a tweet that got her. I mean, you got hit for ban evasion, which once again we've talked about this and realized that there was no way that there was a ban evasion, obviously, but
no. No, they didn't like me for some reason. I had less than 300 followers. I just over 200. I don't know why. Why? I don't get it.
give me just a sec. I gotta find this Tim Pool one because we got to talk about that, and I can't believe I didn't put that up here.
Or about his the cops coming to his house.
Yeah,
Yeah. Did you watch the videos of it?
yeah. I actually
Very
have them up
interesting.
on the document.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting.
Actually, the video that I had of it got suspended. It got popped apparently. I just pulled that up here.
Really?
So, but I do have the video that he came out with and he talked about after the fact here from Instagram. So let's have a listen to what Tim had to say.
All right, everybody. I'll give you a quick update on where we're at right now with what's going on. I'll try and stay in the light. It started snowing, so I'll be standing in the snow. At 8:20, the police got a call that someone had shot and killed 2 people and they were going to kill themselves. They were currently on the premises. That is false. That never happened. Obviously, we're doing a live show. We had multiple agencies. We believe 3 different agencies. We had local city cops, we had the sheriff, and we had state police here. We are lucky. We're very lucky. If you were watching the live show, while Luke was speaking around 8:51 live on Timcast IRL, you can see a police officer walk past the camera and walk out. Fortunately, our chief technical officer walked outside just down this path as the first officers arrived. They got on the bullhorn. They said, "Put your hands in the air," and he did. They made him walk up. They interacted for a few minutes. We have all the security camera footage. We're going to put it up tomorrow explaining what happened. Then another one of our producers and a show host, Brett, came out, put his hands up. Brett quickly realized, look, we're being swatted. Multiple officers came up. Then Allison, who's our chief operating officer, came out and started talking to them saying, this is not true. No one is here. No one is hurt. Several other, I think around 8 or so vehicles had pulled up. And the police were basically like, look, we understand you don't want us to go into your house without a warrant. We have these mats on the ground. Let me see if I can point at it without dropping the phone. It says, come back with a warrant. And they said, but due to exigent circumstances, we will be entering. That's why.
So, and that's the absolute detail of it too. And I talked just a bit about what could happen. I don't think this show is big enough to get swatted, but it might happen. And if it happens, like, I am in the line of fire. They're going to come through that door, which is 8 feet away from where I'm sitting right now.
If it happens here, I feel bad for the cops. if my husband's home.
Yeah. I could see that.
You know.
Now, one of the theories about this had to do with it was because of Robert Barnes and the bad light that was put in Robert Barnes when Robert Barnes was on the show, but also because it was the day after they had hosted Marjorie Taylor Greene as well.
It happened on January 6th as well, didn't it?
I believe so. Let me have a look. See if I can find the date and timestamp on this.
Yeah,
the video just says 3 days ago, so
it was the January 6th at like 8:50 or something like that.
Yep.
That's just from my brain, so don't take that as fact.
No, according to all the date stamps off of there, this is that's actually correct, because this video that we just listened to came on the 7th, 3 days ago, which it was the next day afterwards, so that would have been the 6th. That's correct.
Yeah.
So
I watched, there was a video that I saw today on Twitter that showed, and I don't know if you have this one, where the cops are walking around the house and one of his employees or friends or whoever was there was just videotaping them with their phone. Yeah. And there was a lot of cops there. It wasn't just 2 or 3 like he had initially thought. There was like 10, and they were different agencies and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was craziness off of this too, and all over a phone call.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So that's what we see off of that. Let's grab one from the Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who we will be talking about later on, the follow-up to this one as well. Of course, Cortez was partying maskless in Miami while everything was going on in New York City, and the spike in COVID cases was happening in New York City in her district. But on December 31st, 2021, Steve Cortez tweets out, if leftists like AOC actually thought mandates and masking worked, they wouldn't be frolicking in free Florida. Her guy is showing his gross pale male feet in public, not at a pool or a beach, with hideous sandals. 0 for 2. Now, with the second part of this, of course, that got really, really weird, obviously, because they had to be paying attention to the dude's feet. But Cortez came out to say, if Republicans are mad they can't date me, they can just say that instead of projecting their sexual frustrations onto my boyfriend's feet. You creepy weirdos. And I got a new tagline for the morning show.
You creepy weirdos?
No, you're just mad you can't date me.
She's just so full of herself. It's just so frustrating. Like, nobody wants to date you. I think we went over this last week when we talked about her, but like, she's not that hot. She's hot for a politician, maybe, but she's not hot. She's definitely not hot for Florida, for Miami. You're like, have you been to Miami? She's not hot for Miami. Let's just put it that way.
I've never been to Miami. I've been to Orlando.
Yeah, Miami's a little different than Orlando for sure. But why is she focusing on the comment about the feet? Was an afterthought. That was like the joke, the punchline. Like, the whole point, she neglected to address the point of the criticism, which is why if you AOC are criticizing Florida so much for their rules on COVID, why do you choose to spend your money there on vacation?
Because they're free. And we'll talk about this in the COVID segment. Shortly after all this happened, she got a breakthrough case.
Yeah, she could have went to California. She could have went to San Diego, to a beach there. She chose not to.
Moving on and talking a little bit more about this, Ocasio-Cortez slammed for claiming Republicans are mad, they can't date me, broke the cringe meter, according to the Daily Wire. The Honorable and Venerable Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez de-Twitch faced backlash late this week after claiming that Republicans criticize her because they're mad they can't date me. Ocasio-Cortez faced criticisms after she was caught hanging out in Miami as her city dealt with record-breaking number of daily coronavirus cases. And just some of the pushback off of there. Kurt Schlichter says, well, this broke the cringe meter. Dave Rubin says, people are fixated with you for being an entitled, hypocritical socialist, lockdown, happy vaccine mandate ho. While vacationing in the free state of Florida, you just suck as a person and as a public servant. That's really the extent of it. Amber Athey says, saying you Don't want to date me proves that you want to date me. This is peak cringe millennial women brain. And Brian Riedel says, ladies and gentlemen, your United States Congress.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? You suck as a person. It's like it just gets right to it. There's no fat on it. Like, you suck as a person. That's it. End of story. Was that? I think it was Dave Rubin said that. He's got away with words.
He does. Reading from the Washington Post, China harvests masses of data on Western targets, documents show. Which is like breaking news, water is wet. We've known that for a while.
Is this a surprise to anyone? Like, we knew this was happening.
China's turning a major part of its internal internet data surveillance network around outward, mining Western social media, including Facebook and Twitter, to equip its government, agencies, military, and police with information on foreign targets, according to a Washington Post review of hundreds of Chinese bidding documents, contracts, and company filings. China maintains a countrywide network of government data surveillance services called public opinion analysis software that were developed over the past decade and are used domestically to warn officials of politically sensitive information online. The software primarily targets China's domestic internet users and media, but a post-review of bidding documents and contracts for over 300 Chinese government projects since the beginning of 2020 include orders for software designed to collect data on foreign targets from sources such as Twitter, Facebook, and other Western social media, which they are not able to use in the Chinese intranet because it is blocked on their inside. But yeah, I think we all knew about this.
It was when Trump was still president. He was talking about banning TikTok because of this. This is not breaking news, not at all.
It's not.
And there's so many sites that China has put out there for Americans. How did nobody see this coming? Like, TikTok, and I think WhatsApp is a Chinese one, and
no, WhatsApp is Facebook.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought that was Messenger. No. Either way, there's so many different websites. That's beside the point if I'm dumb or not. But there's so many different websites that China has put out for the American people that their people are not even allowed to participate in because they already have tabs on all of them. They don't need that information. They need to get these into the hands of the people that they need the data on, which is us.
Yeah. And I'm sure they've got a nice big file out of me because I think that the Chinese way of doing business sucks ass. Just saying.
I love China. Don't come for me. Don't come for me, China. You're great.
So I've got this interesting one here from the New York Post that I thought that we could talk just a bit about here. How a Category 5 hurricane could wipe out New York City for good. Reading briefly off of this, the hurricane that destroys New York City happens in a single night. Red Hook, the most vulnerable New York neighborhood, no longer exists, writes Stephen March in his new book, The Next Civil War, Dispatches from American Future. Out on Tuesday, several witnesses report seeing a baby floating in a stroller. Even when the water starts to recede, the damage is unprecedented. Prospect Park isn't Prospect Park anymore, continues March. The trees have tumbled, whole families are curled up inside the sweep of horizontal branches. People are sleeping under bushes in a daze of upended lives. And all that I have to say about this is, after we evacuate people that we like Wes Fanning, do we just do a rain dance or something? Or how do we accelerate this? I mean, I will find Gopherwood and build an ark and get the Fanning family out of there, but...
He needs to get out of there on his own. If he doesn't and this happens, there's nothing I can do about it. He knows what's up.
But this is that kind of climate alarmism that goes along with that too. They just keep saying, this Category 5 hurricane could do this. Typically, I don't think hurricanes stay to Category 5 level once they get up into that area, as far as I know.
You broke up a little bit there. Repeat what you said.
I said typically hurricanes don't they don't hold Category 5.
Oh, not by the time they get that far north.
No.
Sandy was the last big one that I think hit up there, but I don't know what it was when it actually hit land.
That was like a Category 2.
If it doesn't, but if a Category 5 did hit, think about how much damage Sandy did. If a Category 5 did hit, this is definitely what's going to happen because Sandy did. I mean, it wrecked people's lives for years.
Yeah.
And if it was just a Category 2, which I cannot confirm, I think it was stronger than that, but I could be wrong. They're in for it. If one gets out into the ocean and doesn't slow down along land, along the coast, and just builds up that speed and then hits, they're in trouble.
That's fair. But yeah, that's what we see coming off of that. And yeah, like I say, it's, I got the gopher bark. We'll build the ark and make that happen and get the people we care about out of there. But
just move now. Just move. You're welcome here. We have very nice accommodations here for you. Your whole family's welcome.
Now, you said while I was down there that the weather that you guys were having in December was very, very unusual, but just a little bit further north from you guys here. Reading from Washington, NBC4, never seen anything like it. Driver stranded for 24 hours on I-95 in Virginia.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Reading on a little bit off of this, drivers are finally off Interstate 95 after being stuck in a 50-mile stretch in the Stafford County, Virginia area for more than 24 hours. The Virginia Department of Transportation said there are no people stranded still on I-95. VDOT announced in a tweet less than 20 vehicles left to be removed from the interstate before plow trains will come through to remove the snow and ice from the travel lanes. Those 20 vehicles were abandoned amid the backup caused by a collision involving multiple trucks during a major snowstorm that left snow and ice packed onto the road. 50 miles, that was insane. The fact that, for 50 miles that they were backed up like that. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. That is crazy. It's happened here before where when we get snowstorms here, in North Georgia, everything shuts down because we're just not equipped for it. But I would have thought that Virginia would be equipped for it. So I'm not sure what happened there, why they weren't on top of it. Like, they should have been salting the roads ahead of time. And growing up in Chicago, we've had bigger storms than that, and they prepare ahead of time for it. So I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, around here they use brine on the road now.
Yeah. There's all sorts of different things they can do.
But with that, yeah, everybody's back off. There were some people that had to abandon their vehicles. Like I said, it's just for 50 miles, it kind of blows my mind that there wasn't an exit somewhere where some of these people could have got off from either. But
I think what was happening, or what had happened here, what happened here when we had it was several years ago, a huge snowstorm. And everyone, like the whole city, was stuck on the road because it was it popped up faster than they thought. The exits, because of the grade of them, either up or down, the cars either couldn't get up them to get off of the highway, or they were just sliding down and piling at the bottom of the exits.
Well, hopefully nobody got hurt in any of that here. We got to keep going, though. A little bit with your background here with criminal justice. Elizabeth Holmes found guilty on 4 out of 11 federal charges. Reading from CNN, Elizabeth Holmes, the former CEO and founder of failed blood testing startup Theranos, was found guilty on 4 charges of defrauding investors, capping off the stunning downfall of a former tech icon. She was not found guilty on 3 additional charges concerning defrauding patients and 1 charge of conspiracy to defraud patients. The jury returned no verdict on 3 of the charges concerning the defrauding investors, and Judge Edward Davila, who was presiding over the case, is expected to declare a mistrial on those charges. So, you've been paying probably a little bit more attention to this than I had. I had to do some research on this and see exactly what was going on with this, but I don't know exactly how this happened. Do you know?
I do. So she was the TLDR is she was trying to make a blood testing machine that would just be in like a Walgreens or a Walmart, where you could just go in and do like 1 drop of blood and it would give you results right there. And it never worked. This thing never existed. But she was selling it as an idea that we're making it, we're testing it. I think what really got her into trouble is some of the investors that she spoke to including Walgreens gave her a bunch of money. Big corporations like that are giving her money because this could be good for them too.
Right.
Is she said she had contracts in place with the United States government, the military, and she never did. And so she's blatantly lying about the progress of her technology or what her technology can do to investors. And that's what really got her into trouble. But each one of these charges carries like 20 years. So
Ooh.
I doubt she'll get that because she doesn't have a previous record or anything else like that. She may just get a slap on the wrist. But it's heavy duty stuff that if the judge really wants to, they can throw her away for a long time,
Yeah, I mean, she stole a lot of money by doing this too.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
but usually with someone like that and a CEO, you get the white collar resort prison, not the pack your bags and tape your butthole shut prison.
That's a little too much.
Another one from NPR for us. Schumer tees up vote on rules change if voting rights legislation is blocked. Senate Majority Leader Chuck U. Schumer has vowed the Senate will forge ahead on voting rights legislation and will vote on changing the rules of the upper chamber by January 17th if the GOP once again blocks the bill. So, yeah, if they don't get what they want, they're going to change the rules.
They threaten to do this all the time, and we really need to hold people accountable, no matter whose side they're on. Not, Chuck Schumer's not on our side, but we can't allow even our side to do stuff like this because then it gives them the opportunity to when they are in charge. Everybody needs to play by the rules.
Yeah. And this all went down with Harry Reid starting it, and the Democrats regretted it after Harry Reid started it too, because remember, Harry Reid was the one who changed the rules for judicial nominees.
Yeah, absolutely. We cannot give them that crack, like we're giving them a crack to get into to open up whatever they want to do.
And now we have Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett on the Supreme Court because of that one little rule change by Harry Reid.
Exactly. They'll do it to us just as fast.
From the USA Today, Biden unveils $1 billion plan to increase meatpacking competition amid high inflation. Reading on here, the Brandon administration announced Monday it will allocate $1 billion to expand independent beef, pork, and chicken processing in an effort to increase competition and reduce costs for consumers. The move comes as President Brandon faces growing political and public angst over rising inflation, which soared to a 39-year high in November. The latest data available, an ABC News Ipsos poll last month found 57% of Americans disapprove of Biden's handling of the economy.
I mean, they're creating these issues, and then they want pats on the back for fixing the issues that they've created. So I'm not impressed by this. We shouldn't be in this situation to start with. So I'm not impressed with him, this meat packing bill or whatever. I'm not impressed by it because he's the one that caused this issue to start with. And what's going to happen is the meat packing plants are the farmers are going to get screwed because the meat packing plants are going to buy the meat for less because the farmers are at their wits' end. They have to get rid of this meat. Especially with chickens, because from what I understand, there's a certain time limit that you can harvest a chicken, and they're going to give the farmers less than what it's worth. And then because of the demand, because the fucking shelves are empty right now, because of the demand, the meat packing plants are going to make out, better because they can sell it to the stores for more. So they're buying it for less and selling it for more. And Biden wants a pat on the back for this. It's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, I mean, it goes back beyond Biden, too, because the Department of Agriculture in and of itself is a big part of the problem with this, too. And more regulation causing only, IBP, and there are a couple other ones, JLN, and there's another one off of this, too. But only like 3 companies can survive the regulations that the U.S. Department of Agriculture has put down on meatpacking plants.
They do that on purpose. And then they want a big party because they fixed the issue, but they're the ones that caused this issue.
Yep.
It's pissing me off because I want a steak right now.
I kind of do too, but I've got to stay in these 4 walls for 5 days.
Yeah.
Washington Post reports that Pelosi is expected to step down after 2022 midterms. Reading on, a report from the Washington Post on Monday claimed that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is expected to step down after the 2022 midterms as Democrats prepare for new leadership in the days ahead. After almost 19 years as House Democratic leader, Speaker Pelosi is expected to step down at the close of this Congress, ending a historic career that has included trying to end W's Iraq War, implementing Barack's signature healthcare law, impeaching President Trump twice, and squeezing President Biden's sweeping agenda through a narrowly controlled House, the Post's Mariana Sotomayor wrote.
This is one of the articles that I read yesterday when I was doing my homework that I actually said out loud. I think I did a woohoo or something like that. And I started thinking about it, and nothing's going to change. I'm wondering what she did. Whose bad side is she on that she's stepping down now? What did she do? She's not making this choice on her own. Whoever's in charge is making this choice for her, and I'm wondering what's going on behind the scenes.
Well, she is also 100 years old, keep in mind.
Yeah, that's never stopped anybody. Look at Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
Or Bernie.
Yeah, or Bernie.
No, I understand where you're coming from off of this, but it's just... Yeah, I do see where this is, and I know that she's bought her retirement home in Florida. Big surprise there. She's not going to stay in San Francisco.
Of course, Florida, because she likes to be free. She likes everybody else not to be free, but she likes to be free. Shit, I'm thinking about moving to Florida.
All right. I got one here from my neck of the woods that really pissed me off over the weekend as well. From the New York Post. Senator Ron Johnson says he's running for a third term in Wisconsin. Reading on, Senator Ron Johnson, a staunch ally of former President Trump, announced Sunday that he would seek a third term in the key battleground state of Wisconsin. The announcement came despite Johnson, a Republican, promising not to run for a third term if he won in 2016. He addressed that vow in an op-ed Sunday in the Wall Street Journal. He says, during the 2016 campaign, I said it would be my last campaign and final term. That was my strong preference and my wife's. We both look forward to a normal private life, he wrote in the piece. Neither of us anticipated the Democrats' complete takeover of government and the disastrous policies they have already inflicted on America and the world, to say nothing of those they threaten to enact in the future, Johnson continued. And yeah, this kind of pisses me off because he said, in solidarity, for term limits, that he wasn't going to take a third term. He said that on Hannity in 2016. I was listening that day, yeah.
And he just wants to have a normal life.
Apparently. I don't like Ron Johnson.
I don't know anything about him. I don't think I've ever even heard his name before.
Yeah, he's they make fun of him on Twitter all the time because he does the Q thing and the anti-vax thing and everything else off of this. And
okay.
Well, like I said, I was actually looking forward to him not running for a third term and seeing who else they could pull for the primary. But now I'm like, dude, just primary the guy. Get him the fuck out of there.
Who else would they? If there's not a better option, then, better to have the person you know.
I don't know. I won't vote for him. All right, the last one, and then we'll get into the major news of the day. From CNBC, Biden touts strong December wage increases, brushes off weak job growth. President Biden said Friday that the strong wage gains achieved during his first year in office represent the economy he promised Americans as he addressed the release of December's jobs report. Average hourly earnings rose 0.6% for the first month and were up 4.7% year over year. Some industries have seen especially strong wage growth in the last year. Leisure, hospitality, and restaurant wages have increased a whopping 14.1% over the past 12 months, outpacing all other industries. Which is all well and good and all fine and wonderful and everything else that goes along with that, and congratulations on the restaurant workers for coming out here and getting the 14.1% pay raise off of this, but 4.7% year over year does not equate to 7% inflation throughout the year.
No, not at all. This is not covering for inflation at all. Especially the extreme price hike of things and the necessities that has happened in the last 6 months.
Yeah, and honestly, when we look at some of this as well, it is. He's trying to make something good out of this, and he doesn't. And this is on top of the fact that the jobs report came in almost 250,000 jobs below what they thought it was going to be.
Well, he keeps fixing problems that he created, and then wants a party for it. It's ridiculous.
Come on, man.
Yeah,
But it's just you failed at this point. He has
absolutely.
failed.
And this isn't even taking into account all the fact that people stop looking for jobs after a while, or they decide, fuck it, I'm just not gonna. I'm gonna be a stay-at-home mom now, or I'm not gonna go back to work at all, and those fall off the report. And he's taking credit for it, but it's because the market was so bad because of him.
Well, yeah, and they take the E1 into account when they look at this, the
Mm-hmm.
unemployment one, which is the people who are actively looking for work. And they brag about the fact that that's dropped to 3.9%, which it was down to 3.2% under the previous administration before the pandemic.
This just means people have given up hope.
But yeah, and they never talk about the U6,
Mm-hmm.
the labor force participation.
Exactly.
So that's what we have off of that, and he's like a pigeon where he wants to come out and crap over everything and strut around like he won.
Yeah.
All right, let's check in with the live chat here and see what's going on with that.
Okay. Do you want to start or?
No, I think you can.
All right. Well, let's see who's here first. I've never done this before. I'm so nervous. Highleaf rolls into the chat with his half track with a quad 20 millimeter. Howdy there, Highleaf. Aimless Gamer is here. Number 2 is here. Randy Crush Saga, somewhat of a different direction. So Hardcore Gaming. I don't know what that comment is in regarding to. Quest Fanning is here. Good, because we've been talking about him. Hey, Quest. Mr. Zed is here. We're talking about he's getting down with the sickness. And people are commenting that they're glad he's okay. I'm glad that you're okay too, honey. I'm glad that you're okay, so I don't have to keep waiting on you hand and foot. Chilaga's here. Quest Fanning says Robert Durst was a producer who murdered a woman. He actually murdered 2 women and a man. But the first person he murdered was his wife, actually. So, yes, that's true. Quest Fanning says, I'm always suspicious of drugs when they say unresponsive. I think he's talking about Bob Saget. Yeah, when they get you a hotel room and they say unresponsive, it does, in a hotel room, unresponsive, a lot of times it's drugs. But he was on tour as well, so it makes sense that he was in a hotel room. Mr. said Fred Durst murdered eardrums. I don't know about that. He had a couple of good songs back in the day. Chilag is asking Quest how his trip was. Nailbender, at one point, Saget did as much or more coke than Sheen. Not surprising it caught up with him. I don't know if it was drugs, though. We'll find out. I'm sure there'll be a full report. Quest Fanning says all Betty White's roles are going to be reprised as people of color, or by people of color. I actually had a meme about that earlier today, or I think I retweeted a meme about that earlier today. Let's see. I sound like you. Let's see here. Who am I going to read? It's hard to keep track of where I am. Are you following along with me? Could you read some?
Let's find out.
Quest Fanning said Bob Saget's stand-up routine was obscenity laden, not Danny Tanner stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that it was. He was nasty on stand-up.
Yes, he was. I saw some of his the first time I saw his stand-up outside of Full House, it was actually kind of shocking, but amazing. Quest Fanning did have a good trip, which is good news. I know he was in Texas there for about a week. He met up with some friends. Randy Krish Saga says that I am an elusive one. I don't know what that's referring to.
I'm not sure.
MK Ultra is here. Everybody's happy that Mr. Zed is feeling better. Everybody's just saying hi to each other individually. Why are you doing that? I do that too sometimes. Aimless Gamer, says he has a bomb under his beanie. Speaking about Tim Pool, I'm sure. Mr. Zed says, what did she do wrong? She identified as a conservative. I don't know what that's regarding. I have no idea. Ron Helton is here. Ron Helton says, other than a phone call, they had zero evidence of a crime. Quest Fanning said that I imagine shooting all of my neighbors while she's trying to hit the cops. I'm not going to shoot my neighbors. My neighbors are awesome. Aimless Gamer says that he likes both of us enough to swat us. Thanks, Aimless. Remind me never to give you my address. This is a lot. You make this look so much easier than it is. Because there's a lot of talking back and forth that's not, Nailbender says a lot of the women in Miami make AOC a 3 when she's a 7 in most places, and a 10 in Michigan and Wisconsin. That's good. That's true. Aimless says AOC is hot for a horse. And Quest Fanning says, would you be her animal husband, Aimless? I'd like to know the answer to that, too. Randy said she's the kind of chick that you make sure to take back to her place, so she doesn't know where you live. Nailbender said, woohoo. I'm filing unemployment and taking a paid vacation. Quest Fanning says that China harvests. And I was glad that I wasn't followed by something about organs. And we got the Russian bots in the house tonight. Nice. They're crazy on YouTube lately, I've noticed.
They are.
Mr. Zed said AOC reminds him of Octomom. I can see that. Randy says, but dumb people thought Trump wanted to ban TikTok because people criticize him on it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Nailbender says it's not the apps that are the issue, it's the company that owns them and has a solid foothold in companies like Sony. I'm going to skip down a little bit because a lot of people are chatting tonight and my contacts are very dry and it's very hard to see. I can barely see my screen right now. Let's see. Randy said this is probably the first time I can make a joke. Give them a break. This is their first time streaming. Yes, give us a break. I don't know who said. I skipped down some, so I don't know who said what, but give me a break. Yeah, you're gonna have to take over. I can't see my screen anymore.
All right. Spartan says, I feel so stupid for not being rich. All these idiots can get it done. Let's see. Spartan says, Biden still owes me $600. He promised we can talk about the chickens later. Aimless asks, will this affect bug prices? Ron Helton has pointed out, eggs went way up this week at the store. They were 70 cents a dozen 2 weeks ago. They're now $1.79 a dozen. Quest says Pelosi's freezer was threatened. Nailbender says because Democrats are going to lose a lot of midterms. Ben Wild is here. Stephen Ignoramus is here. Number 2 is here. Ben Wild says, I want a normal life. The one where I live in a cabin miles from Chipotle and hunt fish and bang on hot metal all day, ride horses and hang on the porch with the dogs. Indoor plumbing optional. Let's see. Spartan says, I want a normal life. Upload my consciousness into a super robotic being which will rule the planet. Quest has had to take off. He's going shopping at 5 in the morning. Arvolt says, I'm just now showing up, so I'll have to watch the first part on replay. Jessica Green says, I did not kill Bob Saget, in case anybody was wondering. Jessica Green asked if I am all COVID. I am. Actually, my symptoms are gone. I just have to do the, basically the customary 5-day quarantine at this point, so.
You got over that pretty quick. That's great.
Yeah. Ben Wild says, you know what burns my biscuits? Leaving them in the oven too long, mostly. Ben Wild says, AOC is no dime. She's the stripper that thinks you're going to tip her just because she shows some nip. So you go and hide in the bathroom before she gets to your table, and she ends up taking some truck driver from Kansas for overpriced Diet Coke. Nailbender says, ByteDance owns TikTok. They also own several other apps Americans use. That's not the scary thing. How much they own in controlling stock for several companies here in the U.S. is. And Grant says, I have information that will lead to the arrest and persecution of Hillary Clinton. Bob Saget, probably. All right. Let's talk about the oral arguments for the vaccine mandate, because there is some information to talk about with that. So, for those of you who are catching up, this past Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, the Supreme Court started hearing oral arguments in 2 cases involving the employer mandate for 100 employees or more, for OSHA for a vaccine or testing mandate, and also a vaccine mandate for hospitals and healthcare facilities that take Medicare and Medicaid dollars. Now, on a cursory glance, even some of the leftoid outlets have come out and said that it looks like it's a very, very bad day to be a mandate right now, because it looks like they are going to wind up blocking at least the employee one. They may or may not block the one for Medicare workers. I don't like the idea, but I can see where the government would have mandate over that, because the Medicare and the Medicaid is run through the executive branch. I don't like it, but I can see why it happens there. But Sonia Sotomayor also got into a lot of this. But before we get into any of that and checking some of the clips, what have you seen on this so far?
I just saw the dumb statements that Sonia Sotomayor is making about just flat out lying, just evil lying. People want to attribute it to stupidity, and I did at first too. I'm not going to lie. I really thought, oh my gosh, is she really that dumb? Not only on the numbers that she was citing, but also the role of the federal government and state government. Like, there's no way a Supreme Court justice is that dumb. It's just evil.
Yeah. And I know one of the comments that she made off of this was she doesn't understand how states could have an authority to do this, but the federal government doesn't. Like, have you read the 10th Amendment, the 9th Amendment, anything like that?
Any of them? Have you read any of them? Apparently not.
It's in the Constitution.
I know 8th graders that could give her lessons on civics. It's ridiculous.
It is, but Well, I guess my first question is do you? I mean, what's your take on this? If I remember correctly, you're not in a situation. Even if the mandate comes into effect, I work at a company of under 100
To be
employees.
involved in this, there's no reason for the government to be involved in this at all. It's just ridiculous that they're even contemplating letting OSHA make rules about this. This is different than wearing safety goggles, like you were saying this morning. You can take your safety goggles off when you get home. You can't take the vaccine out of your arm.
Not even with Epsom salts or borax or whatever that weird lady on TikTok was talking about.
I mean, I haven't tried it, so I don't
know. But I mean, this is now. I do think that this is at least the employer mandate is doomed to fail because they took this up really quick. Like they fast tracked this right to the front of the line. As of right now, the enforcement of the employer mandate is pushed back to February 9th, pending the Supreme Court decision off of this, which I think that they're going to shoot it down.
For sure. I don't think any of it's going to pass just because of the way the court is situated right now. I don't think any of it's going to pass, and I think it's a waste of time, honestly.
Well, right, but they still have to rule off of this. Now,
Absolutely.
One of the ones, then, this is part of what Sotomayor had to talk about, too, when she was talking about all of this, is the Jacobson versus Massachusetts case, which does give the states the ability to actually enforce this. For those of you catching back up at home, Jacobson versus Massachusetts was a case that determined that the state of Massachusetts, in its state capacity, had the right to force someone to get a polio vaccine or make that person face a fine of $5 one time. That's a reasonable amount.
Yeah, if they want to put a reasonable fine in place, then, and I'm sure with inflation it'll be more than $5. But even if it's $500, I'd pay $500 one time.
Right, but
and then be on my merry way.
The Biden administration came out and said that no, this is going to be $10,000 per person per instance. That they don't have records for this.
That's not reasonable.
Yeah. Well, no, the idea is to get the people fired so they can't buy and sell. On top of this, by the vaccine mandate, the one that's coming out of the OSHA from the administration, you're not eligible. There was a question that came up. I think Quest Fanning asked this in the morning. You're not eligible for unemployment if you get fired over the vaccine mandate either. Which means you're not counted for U1. Yeah. Which means you're not counted for U1, number one. You'll be counted for U6, obviously, but not for U1. And they're making it hurt.
This is not freedom.
Yeah.
It's not.
All right. Let's listen, because, of course, there are no video cameras allowed in a federal court proceeding, but there are audio in there. Let's actually have a listen to what it was that Sotomayor had to say.
Country today than we had a year ago in January. We have hospitals that are almost at full capacity with people severely ill on ventilators. We have over 100,000 children, which we've never had before, in serious condition, and many on ventilators. So saying it's a different variant just underscores the fact that without country today than we had a year ago in.
So, and you know that's been one of the things that's come off with this is the fact that yes, they're looking at this and saying, okay, are there actually 100,000 kids on the ventilator? PolitiFact actually weighed in on this. PolitiFact saying, left-leaning fact-checker nails Justice Sotomayor over widely false claim about children. Reading from The Blaze, PolitiFact, a left-leaning fact-checker, swiftly corrected Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor over a widely false claim that she made on Friday. While hearing oral arguments for and against President Biden's employer vaccine mandate, Sotomayor claimed 100,000 children in the U.S. are hospitalized and in serious condition with the pinko pox. We have hospitals that are almost at full capacity with people severely ill on ventilators. We have over 100,000 children, which we've never had before, in serious condition, many on ventilators, Sotomayor claimed. And which PolitiFact came out and obviously rated this false, tweeting out, Justice Sonia Sotomayor said during oral arguments that we have over 100,000 children, which we've never had before, in serious condition, and many on ventilators due to coronavirus. The actual numbers, fewer than 83,000 children has been hospitalized since August of 2020.
And those are kids with coronavirus, not there because of the coronavirus. Those are just kids who happen to be in the hospital that test positive.
Which that's not just kids either, by the way. We've been finding out more and more that it's been, you go to the hospital because you broke your arm and they test you for coronavirus and you're counted as a coronavirus hospitalization at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And people are surprised. They're at the moment surprised to hear this. They're like, oh, we think our numbers were off. You think? We've been saying this since the beginning. We were conspiracy theorists when we were saying it 2 years ago.
I know Ruben talked about the fact that with was it Ruben, I think? I think it might have been, yeah. He was talking about earlier on today on Twitter, the fact that now that a lot of this is actually starting to blow up in Biden's face, that you're going to start to see a shift off of this and say, oh, well, we reviewed our numbers and we found out that it really wasn't 800,000 people that died from the coronavirus. That was just mostly with coronavirus.
I bet 75% or higher that's going to be the case where it was with instead of coronavirus.
You think it's going to be that high?
Absolutely.
Well, it'd be nice to see the numbers actually get edited down back a little bit too.
Well, when I forget what country, maybe it was Italy, some country in Europe did this where they fixed their numbers and it was north of 75% that it adjusted.
Yeah.
And the way we keep records here, the way they're trying to keep records here, I could see it being like in the 90th percentile.
Yeah, and I mean, they'll call you a conspiracy theory for saying this, but a lot of people have pointed out the fact, too, that, yes, hospitals were getting additional money for having coronavirus patients, and deaths happen in their hospital.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind being called a conspiracy theorist, because they turn out right most of the time.
So, well, that's what we have going on with that. So, over-under at this point, given the arguments that we've heard at this point, do you think it gets overturned? I think it does.
Absolutely.
All right. So we'll see what happens with that. That is a developing story right now. We'll probably be talking about it more throughout next week. I want to take some time and talk about January 6th, because this past week was the 1-year anniversary of the greatest attack on the United States soil ever, in which a bunch of probably drunken idiots were led by Ray Epps into the Capitol, saying that we needed to go and enter the Capitol peacefully. I'm sure that you're excited to talk about all this fun stuff.
Sure.
So, you were watching on, on January 6th when the speech came out first and foremost, and that's where I want to start with here, is talking about Biden's speech throughout this. Now, that was probably one of the more terrifying speeches I've ever heard in my life. And it really was
so divisive. It was crazy.
It was, and there are people out here that are talking about and taking a massive victory lap over this too. But I mean, we're sitting here and we're listening to the leader of the free world tell us that if we believe the wrong thing about the January 6th selfie fest, that we could be prosecuted for this.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly what he said in that speech, but I remember coming away. And we were watching it together. So I remember coming away from it thinking, he wants a civil war. Like, there's no way that you could use that kind of language and want to heal and come together. It just, this isn't what they want.
Well, I want to focus on one part of the speech, and this comes to us, this has been focused on us with Chris Eliza over at CNN gave his op-ed for this, which he usually does. And there was one line in this speech that they all want to focus on with this, and that is, he said, "You can't love your country only when you win." That's President Biden during a speech he gave Thursday morning to commemorate the one-year anniversary of the U.S. Capitol Selfie Fest. It's not only a memorable line, it's likely to be the one that gets repeated the most today and in days to come, but also a hugely important one if we hope to fully come to grips with what happened last January 6th and everything that led up to that moment. And I wanted to point that out because there was a reason that I wanted to focus on that line, in addition to everything else, because what did we hear for the last 4 years? And especially after Election Day of this year, of once Biden was elected. Oh, hey, I'm finally proud of my country again. I'm proud of my country. I'm proud to be an American. I mean, we saw the Yellow Jacket girl kneeling down on Inauguration Day in 2017, screaming no at the sky as loud as she could.
Yeah, absolutely. And we heard fuck Donald Trump for 4 years. Nonstop, longer than that. But and now all of a sudden it's not okay to criticize your president.
Yeah. You can't be proud of your country only when you win. Well, then what did we see for the last 5 years?
Well, it drives me nuts too because the right does the same thing. Like the Republicans do the same thing on the other side. When they were all saying fuck Donald Trump, they're like, oh, you can't criticize your president, or you shouldn't do that. And they're all the same ones saying, let's go Brandon now. So it needs to be okay all the time, or not okay all the time, but we need to get our shit together.
Yeah, exactly. And, well, hopefully we won't all get prosecuted either for, speaking out against the government, because it really did sound like that was coming. Like, that speech, when we listened to it, I think it sounded better in its original German.
Yeah, really.
But Biden wasn't the only one that gave a speech on that day. We also had a Pelosi speech. Well, let's talk about the Trump reaction first to this. The Hill comes to us talking about Trump lashing out at Biden over January 6th speech. Now, this I didn't see until long after the fact off of this, but definitely something to look at with this. Former President Trump on Thursday responded to President Biden's fiery speech on the anniversary of the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, saying the remarks alluding to Trump's role in the riot deepened the political divides in the country, which they did. And, I mean, Biden was out there and very proud to come out and say that, I didn't want to divide people, so I didn't mention the former president by name. Well, you pretty much came out and said this was all the orange guy's fault in this without actually saying the orange guy.
Absolutely. Yeah, everybody knew who he was talking about. It wasn't hidden at all.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the Donald has to come back. Now, he also had canceled a press conference. That was on, I think, the 4th. He finally came out and canceled that as well because he was supposed to have a press conference that day. And I think that he figured out very quickly that it was probably in bad taste for him to do so.
Absolutely. He's right, too. It's good that he decided not to do that, in my opinion.
But it is interesting to see where this goes and what happens with this when we do get these situations, because, he was being ripped up and down for the fact that he didn't want to have a press conference. He gets ripped up and down if he doesn't react to certain things. He's in that situation where he can't do anything right.
Exactly. Whether he did or he didn't, somebody would be yelling at him. So it really doesn't matter what he does at this point.
Yeah.
Do you think he's thinking about running, like, seriously?
I think so. I don't know if I would vote for him a third time.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's really hard for me to do this. Well, I was actually a stickler for the spending, and I almost didn't vote for him the second time. Like, that was an 11th hour decision for me.
I only voted for him once, and he didn't win when I voted for him. So, like, I don't think I would. There's just so many there's just so many issues with his policies lining up with freedom.
Yeah, there's that, and for me, it's always follow the money, and I think that's something you've gotten to know about me over the past few weeks. Is it's always follow the money, and that was one of the biggest problems that I had with the situation, was that I tried to follow the money and it didn't work. I appreciated the tax cuts, I really did.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a spending cut to go with that, and raised the deficit, and we raised the national debt because of it.
Yeah. Now, if it ends up being a choice between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, of course, I'll vote for Donald Trump. I'm not going to not do that. But in a primary,
I might leave that top line blank.
In a primary, I don't think I would vote for him.
Oh, we got a dog.
I wasn't sure if you'd be able to hear that or
not. Pelosi gave a speech on this. Pelosi said that January 6th was as if somebody in the White House dropped a bomb on Congress. Which, really, honestly, because we all got to see the footage of somebody actually in the building, I think that might be just a little bit hyperbolic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy that they're comparing this to war zones and things like that. They obviously, people who are comparing this to a war zone either have never been in a war zone or were in a war zone and like was a cook in the green zone or something. Never actually went to war. It's insane. And they're buying it. The other side is buying it. They're like, oh yeah, it's an insurrection, and nobody's charged with insurrection. Like this, it didn't happen that way.
There's a reason. We'll talk about this in just a bit here, but there's a reason they keep using that word, and we'll go over that in just a second here. I've got a separate segment set up for that, but there's a reason they're using that. There absolutely is a reason they're continuing to use that word over and over again, because they've got a strategy with this. But one of the things that was pointed out, and one of the things that if you're paying attention to politics and government at all throughout any of this, is the fact that for the entire summer, a lot of these, especially Democrat politicians, were urging the protesters and the rioters to go out and destroy the cities full of the little people.
Absolutely.
And while they didn't get anywhere near the destruction, the level of destruction in the Capitol, as you got where the furniture store in Kenosha burned the fuck down, and that's still an empty space at this point. I was just down there not that long ago and saw that. These people got a little taste of what they were doing to the little people, and it made them uncomfortable because they couldn't sit in their ivory tower anymore.
Yeah.
I don't condone what happened on January 6th, but I can't help but think that it doesn't serve these people right.
Absolutely. And you notice they don't bring up the other. There's been state capitals that have been insurrected or whatever by leftists that they just conveniently forget about. That never happened. I mean, they were trying to set government buildings on fire in Portland like the month before that.
Yeah. Well, the other one that I like to bring up a lot when they talk about insurrection is what happened here in 2010 in Madison when Scott Walker put Act 10 into place.
Is that the school board thing or the school district thing or something like that?
Act 10 was the public sector unions and having to put in X amount of their own money for their health care, among a litany of other things for collective bargaining. Basically, it stripped out collective bargaining for public sector unions, which they tried to say that also affected private sector unions. It didn't. But yeah, I mean, Act 10, they caused $3 million worth of damage to the state capitol in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
That was possibly more of an insurrection than what happened in D.C. because they were trying to do the same thing.
They were. I mean, I wouldn't say that because there was more people in D.C., but there was definitely people there that were trying to break shit. So.
Yeah.
Maybe less of a percentage because there were so many more people.
Did you know that January 6th was exactly the same as Pearl Harbor and 9/11? This according to our intelligent and wonderful Vice President of the United States.
That comment pisses me off so much.
To tell.
Just to compare what happened on January 6th to Pearl Harbor. I've been to Pearl Harbor. I've been to the museums. I saw what happened there. I couldn't even imagine going through something like that. And what, she broke a nail that day or something? Like, what happened? Did she stub her toe when she was trying to get out of the chamber or whatever? Like, you've got to be shitting me. And 9/11 obviously was horrible. 6,000 people died. 6,000 Americans died that day, and she's going to compare some dude having a stroke the next day. Like, and you know she's not talking about Ashley Babbitt, so that's why I bring up Sicknick, because she's definitely not talking about Ashley Babbitt.
Well, I know the AP tried to actually make a smear piece about Ashley Babbitt that actual very day. Yeah, Ashley Babbitt is a martyr. Her past tells a more complex story. I don't entirely believe Stephen Ignoramus's theory that Ashley Babbitt never existed, but I can see where he's coming to that. I can see where you could come to that.
I mean, it could go either way. I didn't know that was one of his theories. I must have missed that part. But
yeah, he believes that there was.
It does sound like something he'd say.
He believes that there wasn't actually a shooting at the Capitol, but they made up the story just to try to get the right on Twitter to come out and say the name so they can be put on watch lists.
I think I watched. There's a video of it, right? I remember seeing it. Am I making that up? Did I dream that? There's a video of her getting shot.
I have not seen it. That wouldn't surprise me. There was a lot of video and a lot of cell phone cameras going through that, so I would believe it.
There's a video of her being shot, and if I recall correctly, the person who took that video was actually a Black Lives Matter instigator guy posing as a MAGA person. And he's actually the one that got that video. And then it was found out later that he was actually, he was instigating, trying to get people to break stuff and things like that. He's videotaped himself doing that. And I want to say that's the same guy that got it on video of Ashley Babbitt being shot. Now I'm going to go nuts thinking about this. Did I dream that? Like, I don't know.
Well, I know that the first thing that the AP came out to do this is to try to say that Babbitt had a extramarital affair with who was this? With Celeste Norris's husband, somebody that lived in the same town that she did, and then she had some road rage incident in Frederick, Maryland, and that's really all that they have off of her. But they say that this means that she shouldn't be a martyr.
I mean, if they dug into my past, I've got like no extramarital stuff, but road rage fucking daily,
I believe I've seen that at some point.
You have been in my car, haven't you?
I have.
Sorry. Didn't mean to scare you.
So yeah, I mean, they're talking about the fact that she rammed a vehicle 3 times with an SUV and was fucking this chick's husband.
Who cares? She was also shot dead at the Capitol. It's not even that she was shot. It's that they don't care. If this, I can't believe I was about to say that. I'm going to say it anyway. If this was reversed, I hate saying that, but it's so true. If this was fucking reversed, what pisses me off so much is that armed people attacking cops get shot and they become martyrs. Mm-hmm. But this person who was unarmed getting shot by a cop can't be a martyr because she fucked somebody's husband one time years ago. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. We're talking about people who have criminal rap sheets miles long, like miles and miles long, like beating women and punching pregnant ladies, kidnapping kids, like all sorts of bad, like really bad stuff. And we're painting murals of these people. Mm-hmm. All right. I think I'm over my rant. I can't believe I said imagine if it was reversed. I hate it when people say that, and it's so hard not to. I hate it when people say that.
One thing that, and this was actually requested from the chat, is talking about Senator Cruz on Tucker Carlson, which that one actually kind of pissed me off. But it also, I mean, I know who Senator Cruz is, and I know full well that he's capable of this and does this here. But he went on Tucker Carlson and he described January 6th as a violent terrorist attack, and then he tried to run back and walk it back as hard as he could. I want to read here from the Blaze just briefly on this, and then we'll go over this. Let's see. Republican Senator Ted Cruz of Texas says that when he described January 6, 2021 as a violent terrorist attack on the Capitol, he was referring to the individuals who attacked law enforcement officers. Cruz on Wednesday noted the upcoming January 6th anniversary, describing it as a violent terrorist attack on the Capitol, where we saw men and women of law enforcement demonstrate incredible courage, incredible bravery, risk their lives to defend the men and women who serve in this Capitol. The conservative, and by conservative I mean neocon, senator noted that he believes anyone who assaults law enforcement officers should go to jail for a very, very long time. Which, I'm looking at this, and all I can hear is him trying to walk this back because he realized how horrible this sounded for him to say that these people were terrorists.
Absolutely. There was very few, percentage-wise, people actually doing any criminal damage and things like that. Mostly it was a selfie fest. People were just walking around. Like single file lines walking through.
Staying in the velvet ropes.
Absolutely, yeah. There's plenty of evidence of people behaving themselves. There's more evidence of people behaving themselves and peacefully protesting than not. And it's very interesting. The people that weren't peacefully protesting, the people who were breaking out the windows and antagonizing, none of those people are arrested. We couldn't get any of those people? Couldn't figure out who those people were. Ridiculous.
But the people who just walked in and got let in by the police are facing federal charges.
It's insanity. The whole thing's a fucking joke.
But, I mean, looking at, the thing with Ted Cruz especially, I mean, this pisses me off. Because Ted Cruz, I mean, he shifts with the wind based on what's going to make him the most popular. He always has. That's always been what he's been.
I can't believe I liked him at one point. I think I voted for him in the primary at one point.
I didn't. I figured out who he was pretty quickly.
Yeah. I just didn't like Trump back then. I didn't like Trump back then, and then I liked him for a little while, and now I don't like him again. So I don't like any of them, really. I think I just shouldn't vote.
Aren't you saying, is it your husband supposed to do that for you?
Yeah, I'll just ask him, who should I vote for, honey? He gets 2 votes, I get none. The way it should
be. The very last article I want to touch on this, CBS actually buried this because they didn't want the information to come out of here. But reading from the Daily Wire, CBS buries poll results showing most Americans of both parties think January 6th was a protest that went too far. But conveniently, after the poll was done, they took that option off of there and only reflected on the other 4 options: an insurrection, trying to overthrow the government, patriotism, and defending freedom. They took that one off of there. At first, reported by Fox News, CBS downplayed the finding of its own poll, asking Americans how they would characterize the events on the Capitol on January 6th. The survey asked 2,046 adults what happened at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. 80% of Republicans and 69% of Democrats described it as a protest that went too far. Even 70% of Biden voters characterized it that way.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. That's why people... There was too much video of this actually happening in the moment and afterwards, people seeing videos, for them to spin it as much as they wanted to. I mean, they're still trying. Definitely still trying.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, it's interesting to me that they pulled this off of there and they still wanted to come out and tell us about the other 4, where people say it's an insurrection. And, you know, I said that before, and did want to talk about this very briefly, but Democrats are quietly plotting to use a provision in the Constitution to bar Trump from holding a political office. And I mean, it's not just him. They're trying to do it to Green, Boebert, Gosar. Who else? There's another one, Gates. They're trying to get all these people on the same thing. On a small line in the 14th Amendment. The usual people are involved with this. Jerry Nadler, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Jamie Raskin are the people who are trying to get this to go. The effort is focused on using a provision in Section 3 of the 14th Amendment against Trump and others who claim they participated in the event of January 6, 2021. That provision reads, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or any other state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the U.S., or as a member of any state legislature, or as an executive judicial officer of any state, to support the Constitution shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof, but Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such a disability.
They didn't participate in it, though, so I don't know how they can even, just for supporting the people who were there that day?
Well, yeah, aid and comfort to the enemy.
Give me.
But that's part of the reason. Even though, like you said, nobody has been charged with insurrection, they keep using that term.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. Oh, it's all so frustrating, Ed. Like, it's all just, can we just, like, flip the board over and start over with a whole new Congress? Like, let's just start from scratch. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and that's what they're trying to do, and that's been pointed out by a couple other people. Like Styx pointed this out in one of his videos that same day, talking about the fact that this is them trying to come out and tell us about, well, they're trying to, they can't beat these people, so they're trying to bar them from holding office.
It won't even matter, even if they do. Like, if the list of people, Green and Gates and whoever else. Even if that happens, those districts, like where Marjorie Taylor Greene is from, I live very close to there. I'm one district over. Those people will elect somebody just like her. They're not going to take her seat. Like, they might take it from her, but there'll be somebody probably worse for them in her place in no time. So why are they even doing this? And even the people who are charged with the worst crimes from that day are not charged with insurrection.
But they'll still continue to use those words.
I don't have anything else to say about it. It's just so dumb. It's like Republicans getting whoever's district LA County is in, like, thrown out of office. They're just going to replace that person with somebody just as bad or worse. So why would we even try to do that? Why the people that they're trying to do this to live in places where it's not going to go a different way for them. It's just not.
Yeah. And I mean, even when they can and they have to redistrict, they took Nunes's district out and moved a couple very, very blue districts around him into place so that even if he had tried to stay in Congress, he couldn't win.
His district was already going purple, though. That's the problem. That's the same thing with the district that's just south of me here is already purple. So it was really easy for John Ossoff and whoever else to come in and take these seats, Warnock, to take these seats, because Atlanta is just, it was just a little small area in Georgia before, and it's expanding.
Well, it's the same thing in Wisconsin, and I'm pretty sure that Ron Johnson, especially as unpopular as he's become, is probably going to turn out and he's going to get replaced by a Democrat, because statewide seats in Wisconsin are elected by Madison and Milwaukee.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, there's in Green Bay probably too. Well, maybe not Green Bay, but the cities run shit. The cities are running, like, there's, unless we can get people, unless we can get them to draw the districts the way they should be drawn, there's nothing we can do to stop it. Or get Republicans to move into the city, which nobody wants to do that.
All right. Let's see what the live chat is saying here. Jessica Green joined us over on DLive with the hot stuff sticker. Spartan says, who pays for eggs? You just take one from the box. Let's see. Jessica Green says, the way the entire media is doing an about-face on the narrative gives me a lot of hope. On Sotomayor, it can be both. She can be stupid and malicious. Arvold says, how did she become a judge if she hasn't read the amendments? Oh, she's a Democrat. Benwild says, I'm sorry, the dog ate my homework on constitutional law. Bratwurst 9 Danka, I'm guessing is German, says Democrat, but capitalizes the R, so it's rat at the end of it. And Jessica Green counters with Democrats. Ben Wild says, I take off my vax because all things are possible with Jesus. Arvolt says, maybe we can use magnets too. We can't actually use magnets. That doesn't work. And vaccines are safe and effective. Don't ban us, Susan. Arvolt says, if I get rid of my vaccine, will my 5G cell service get worse? Randy says, my state allows for me to quit my job if my pay or job duties change drastically and still qualify for unemployment. Yeah, that would be a state thing. Randy says that was reminiscent of Biden saying 130 million have died from gun violence. Half the country. Let's see. Randy says 90%. They found a 90% false positive rating in testing. Bratwurst with the Apu sticker. Let's see. Randy says, hey Ed, that's Agent Ray Epps to you. Ben Wild says, not to brag, but I've had more violent bowel movements than January 6th. Grant says, I forgot who did the poll, but it was one of the big firms. Republicans tend to love the country, regardless of who wins. Democrats tend to only love the country when they're in charge. Marie, Baby Golay, is here. Says, I think some other savior monster will run and everybody will fall hook, line, and sinker. Ben Wild says, I mean, they had Hamilton cast sing a song to open the events. I guess fucking Taylor Swift was stuck in traffic. Randy says they also took over American land to form their own government and people died as a result. I'd say that's worse than January 6th. Marie says the horror of PSYOP, talking about Ashley Babbitt. Number 2 says, I did the same thing, KTZed. Marie says, I used to like Scott Baio, live and learn. Mr. Zed says, repeal the 19th. Ron Helton says, repeal. Ron Helton says, repeal government.
He's not wrong either.
Randy, with the black pill, says, all this is unnecessary. The powers that be selected Trump just as they selected Biden. Trump didn't upset the system. He was just as much a part of it as anybody else. That's fair. Aimless Gamer took off. Shalaga says, came back to read chat. Marie's comments about popcorn and turkey legs. I guess I missed that one. Ron Helton will get last word before we circle back and says, extrapolating Biden's brilliant past calculations on statistics, we must have about 7 billion Americans dead from the coof now. If only people would take the jab that doesn't prevent infection or the spread, we could end this pandemic. All right, and let's finish up these last 2 topics here, and we will come back to this here. So I wanted to talk a bit about, well, first I want to talk about Ron DeSantis, because that was one of the big ones that came off of this. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was taking care of his sick wife and not missing, this of course being for the few days before January 1st, while AOC was in Miami. Ron DeSantis was mysteriously missing. He was in his office every day, but he wasn't going out and giving speeches and giving public appearances. For the most part, he was going up and, taking care of his wife coming in. She was getting treated for breast cancer. And the interesting part about this is not the fact that they found out that this was wrong. It's the fact that they didn't change their mind about it once they found out that they were wrong. And there are still people saying that he was just away from his office and he was hiding because the COVID numbers were so bad. Even though it's documented in his schedule that he was taking care of his wife.
You would think as soon as somebody would say, oh, he's at a cancer treatment with his wife, like immediately, like I would be so embarrassed if I had said something about somebody being missing and they were with their spouse at a cancer treatment. I'd feel like such a piece of shit for saying that. Oh, where's so-and-so? Oh, they're in the hospital with their wife. Like, I just don't understand what kind of mental disorder you have to have going on up here to not apologize. First of all, I'm so sorry that his wife has cancer. I didn't know that, or something along those lines. And then shut the fuck up.
But I mean, it's like the information didn't get to some of these people that it even happened that way.
Yeah.
Which I think some of that is mainstream media.
Yeah, that's by design. That's why they don't have the information. That's by design.
But yes, he is indeed, and it looks like she is in remission at this point. So good on her off of this here. But we've got some other COVID stuff to talk about here. I got an interesting story from Sky News. Our friend Mad Cow Mark will appreciate this if he comes back and checks this out on the replay here, because he loves it when I use Sky News. But interestingly enough, according to Sky News, Antarctica research station battling coronavirus outbreak. So
I actually enjoyed this story because I enjoyed this story for a very personal reason. When you're a kid, you want to be something when you grow up. My very first thing when they ask you in like kindergarten what you want to be, I wanted to take care of penguins. Like I was really into penguins, and I wanted to, like, my dream was to live in Antarctica and like take care of sick penguins. So when I saw that, I'm like, man, that could have been me. If I would have just followed my kindergarten self's dreams, I could be in Antarctica right now with COVID.
Well, the thing with this is it's the Princess Elizabeth Polar Station. They've implemented strict rules to avoid infections. Like they sailed out from South Africa, which meant that they had to quarantine for 2 weeks in South Africa before they could go down there. And yet somehow still, one person got it and then everybody else in the station got it. Far, far away from the rest of civilization. Far away from everything else.
I wonder why they decided to go out of South. I mean, I guess it's just the easiest place to get there from, but it doesn't seem like the safest place from COVID to be in South Africa. Like there's diseases and stuff that spread. Like there's big cities and stuff there is what I mean. Well,
I'm sure that like they're not going out and eating bushmeat out in rural South Africa either. Like they're coming out of Johannesburg.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. Why wouldn't they go there out of like Argentina or somewhere where it's like smaller little towns and stuff?
Well, I'm sure that there's probably not international airport or sailing port to be able to get there either, and it will depend on where the station is as well.
That's true.
But there it is. It's the breakthrough case to end all breakthrough cases. Everybody in the station is fully vaccinated, and they've been away from society for a month.
Yeah.
And they still had an outbreak.
There's nothing you could do to stop it. That's just proof right there.
So I found that to be very, very entertaining with this. Did you see the Antonio Brown video?
I did. Like of him taking his jersey off and like throwing it into the crowd and all of that.
Yeah.
I think I saw that on your show. I saw it either on your show or Stephen's show. I'm not sure where.
Did I not put that up there?
I'm good with it. you know how I feel about sports, so.
Let me have a look at this here quick, because I mean this is one that I actually do want to put up there if I had the video for it. I thought it was in the CNN article. Maybe it was just in the Daily Wire one. The Lori Lightfoot stuff. Oh, I guess I didn't save it. But Antonio Brown this week, mid-game, took off his jersey and walked out. Now, Antonio Brown had already been in the hot seat because he allegedly faked his COVID vaccination card, and his personal chef spilled the beans for him. Went off and told the league about the fact that he'd faked his vaccination card.
Why would he tell him? He shouldn't have told anybody.
I don't know that he did. I don't know if it was just that or the personal chef went snooping, but I know there was a falling out with the personal chef, and the fact that there was payment involved with that as well. Like, the personal chef hadn't been paid for X amount of time as well, so...
well, he's just a dumbass then.
Yeah, that's fair off of that.
You have somebody working in your home, you got to pay him on time.
Yeah. But yeah, in the middle of the game, after he was not going to be put back out again after he was on suspension, still suited up, he took off his jersey, he took off his pads, and walked out shirtless out of the stadium, across the field, and everything else off of this. He is, at this point, according to Buccaneers head coach, is no longer a Buccaneer. He has been fired at this point from the league. Probably blackballed as well. I don't know if he's ever going to be able to get a job again, but, I mean... At what point? At what point do you come out and say, okay, this is my belief, and my employer can't respect that?
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult to speak on because it's hard for me to be sympathetic to millionaires who throw balls around throwing temper tantrums. It's very hard for me to have respect for that aspect of it, but I appreciate somebody who stands by their principles, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I'm like Aaron Rodgers was...
I care so little about sports. It's so hard for me to give a shit about these people.
Yeah. Well, I've not watched a football game since the BLM stuff, since the Jacob Blake stuff.
I haven't watched a football game since 1985 when the Bears won the Super Bowl. So
yeah, that sounds like a Chicago person thing to say. What's the difference between a Bears fan and Marty McFly?
What?
Eventually, Marty McFly stopped going back to 1985.
True. So, that would have really got me right here if I gave a shit about football.
But yeah, I mean, I bled green and gold. Like, I was Mr. Packers for everything, and just I had to walk away from it when they started doing. And I did watch one game recently. I think it was on Christmas. It was at my brother-in-law's, and I look down and I see the end racism on the end zones. I'm like, why am I taking a political lesson while I'm trying to spend Christmas with family and watch football?
Exactly.
Why is this a thing?
Yeah, I mean, when they started putting the name, like, you know how I am with the Innocence Project people, and, like, they started putting names of fucking murderers, like, proven beyond a reasonable shadow of a doubt murderers on their helmets, supporting these people who are murderers. Like, I can't deal with that.
Yeah. Here's one that I thought that you might find interesting, speaking of breakthrough cases. The View had a series of breakthrough cases. Both Whoopi Goldberg and Sunny Hostin had their breakthrough cases happen. The View returns to isolation as Whoopi Goldberg and Sunny Hostin test positive for the coronavirus. This is from Amanda Harding. The View was back to filming in studio for a short time and had strict vaccination requirements for all staff, but these measures weren't enough to keep everyone healthy. It was announced during the January 3rd show that co-hosts Whoopi Goldberg and Sunny Hostin both tested positive for COVID-19 over the holiday, which forced Goldberg to skip sitting in on the panel completely. The rest of the women joined via teleconference rather than going back to the set. Joy Behar stepped in as moderator in Goldberg's absence. And I actually have, I don't know if you can see the monitor right now, but I actually have a picture of Sunny Hostin's test.
Yeah, you got me with that one.
There it is, right there.
I know I'm not supposed to be happy that somebody got sick, but I'm sorry. It's so sad that they're ill, and I really hope they recover. I really hope that they recover and everything's fine, and I'm going to pray for them and their health, and God bless them. That's what I meant to say.
I had one of the Twitch people got really pissed off at me for using that meme on Contemporary this past week.
Oh, whatever. That guy's a cunt.
It was a chick, and well, her screen name was FemWin, but she's like, "Why would you call Sunny Hostin a cunt?" I don't know. Have you ever seen The View? Cunt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the program? We have a new variant, by the way. Did you see this? We have the IHU variant.
I bet that's what Dave or Mr. Zed has.
You think that's what he has?
I don't know.
The I hate you variant? I don't know where and how we got off of Greek letters off of this. New variant was discovered in a French hospital and named IHU after the French hospital that was discovered in. It has 43 spiked protein mutations, which means it may be even more transmissible and even more able to go around the vaccines. But realistically, nobody seemed to care about it.
Why would they? Here's my theory. Because, I'm a conspiracy theorist and all that. I think every year we get a flu variant, which is a COVID variant. So they're keeping the 19 and just naming them now, when really this is just COVID 21 and COVID 22. This is what's happening right now. Especially since everybody that I know who's had COVID, except for elderly people that I know who have had COVID, which is the same with flus, but has been sick for a couple of days and are fine. You were sick for a day. Yeah. My husband was sick for a few days. It's just the flu. It's just the flu, bro.
Did you see this story out of Texas? A Sci-Fair ISD teacher got bonded out of jail after allegedly putting a 13-year-old in the trunk out of fear of COVID-19 exposure. So this story follows Sci-Fair ISD teacher, Sarah Beam, who found out that her son had tested positive for COVID-19 and drove him to the testing facility for a second opinion, but had him in the trunk of the car. Now, she was stopped immediately and told, because the worker there told her she wasn't going to get a test until she let the kid out of the trunk of the car. The kid got out according to security cam video, went into the back seat, sat in the back seat, and the police were rightfully promptly called.
Yeah, this is insanity. First of all, it's insane that somebody who is intelligent, she's a teacher, she has some sort of intelligence, she went to college, is being fooled by the media into the fear that they're projecting onto her, and she's being fooled by this. First of all, that's dumb. Secondly, even if she is fooled by the media, for her to care more about her own health than to her son, how do you care more about yourself than your kid? You put your kid in the trunk? What the hell is wrong with this woman? I hope not only I know she lost her job, but she needs to go to jail too. Or something else needs to happen to her. You don't put your kid in the trunk because you've been brainwashed. It's crazy.
Well, she is out on a $1,500 bond, posted about 4:45 that same day. Doesn't look like she had any previous record at all either, so this was a first-time offender, but still.
First time going crazy. I guess there's first time for everything.
Yeah, this was just, like you said, this is an intelligent woman. And not only that, but she has charge over other people's kids, not just her own.
This is the type of
No,
woman
not
who's
anymore,
going
obviously,
to be,
but...
this is the type of person who's going to be giving your kid COVID vaccines in the closet at the school because she's brainwashed. It's insane.
I wanted to touch on this one here before we headed out of this topic. Well, hold on. I don't want to touch on that one just yet. I wanted to grab this stupid one. Reuters did a fact check this week telling us that home COVID tests were not designed to use water and other liquids, the manufacturers say. Because the government's sending out all these PCR tests for free right now, a bunch of people are going in and putting them in Mountain Dew and testing the tap water and all kinds of other stuff off of this, and they're getting
positive results. Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy.
Well, and the Reuters fact check tried to tell us that with this was conspiracy theories trying to tell us that COVID-19 was in the water, and I think, no, it's probably not that. It's some internet trolls on TikTok who are trying to show us that... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the tests are fixed so they can pump up the numbers so they can have more pandemic. It doesn't matter what you put on there. It's going to say positive.
Yeah.
You can have your dog lick it. It's going to say positive.
Well, you probably know something about a dog licking. She licks the air. I've been in your house.
That came out bad.
Oh. Okay. I could see where that came out bad.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But yeah, for this, I look at this and these are just trolls coming out here and saying, hey, look what I can throw my test in and see what comes back positive off of this. This is not people coming out here and actually being serious about this. This is internet trolls.
No, and I don't think the water has COVID-19 in it either. I honestly don't think COVID-19 is a thing anymore. I'm totally serious about it just being the next year's flu and the next year's flu. And they need to keep it alive. They need to keep it alive for another 2 years so Joe can get reelected is what they're trying to do.
You think he's going to make it that long? Natural causes, of course.
We had a bet going on a different channel, and I thought he was going to be gone by September, and it's January, so I can't make another guess.
So I wanted to touch on this one here, and then an article that went off with this, because the Hill has come out with a study that says that the vaccination may cause temporary slight change to the menstrual cycle. Reading here from the Hill, vaccination may cause a temporary change to a person's menstrual cycle, but it appears to be a small change according to a study published on Thursday. The study, published by the Obstetrics and Gynecology Journal, examined close to 4,000 people, vaccinated and unvaccinated, and examined menstruation data that individuals entered through an app called Natural Cycles. Now, I bring this up specifically because our friend Britt pointed out an actual statistic that she went through. Now, statistics versus anecdotes is always going to be a little bit different, obviously, but I hear more stories like Britt's than I hear stories like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I have 2 other women in my life who did get the vaccine who had similar stories to Britt. Not as severe. One of them almost as severe. It's her story, but it's scary. Especially the people in my life that this has happened to are young, haven't started families yet. Like, is that even in their cards for the future now? Like, I don't know.
Which it's been a question for that, and that's kind of why I wanted to bring this up and talk about this, even though, of course, this is probably something that's a little bit uncomfortable for me. But this is an article, and this is from COVID World, which is not green check verified, but I do think that it was worth at least looking into. The COVID World writes, vaccinated women are now lying about their vax status as more men that see them as an infertility risk. Reading on, women in New York have started lying about their vaccination status because of widespread perception among men that they're infertile or will bear children with birth defects, one man who wants to remain anonymous said. in clubs, they claim that they're not vaxxed. They say things like, oh, COVID is bullshit, or I don't want to try this new experimental shot. However, after going out with them several times, women finally admit that they took the vax and watch as most potential husbands leave them almost on the spot. The person went on to say that at least 2 separate women asked him why he would break off relations with them over something like the jab, and he told them, I don't want defective children, and I won't get closer to a girl who lied to my face from the start, which that is an
That's the
understandable.
part. But
Yeah.
the lying part is the thing, I think. Because men have one-track minds, and it doesn't matter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to... I don't think that men who are courting women in New York City are thinking further down the line of like 3 dates from now. They're not thinking about having kids, and like the lying thing is what's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, the vax is a problem too. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think men in New York City. This is. I'm having trouble buying this whole story.
Well, like I said, this isn't a green check verified source.
Yeah, so many red flags in the story.
But I think it's worth looking into and trying to see if there is a side of this. I know that, like, our friend Seawall comes out and says that unvaxxed sperm is going to go for like 1,500 times its normal value because, pure blood this and that and the next thing. And that's an important thing to some people.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard for me to say. I think the fact that they set this story in New York City has caught me up somehow, because I don't think those people give a shit at all about any of it. They want 4 times boosted sperm and eggs and all of that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there are some men who are interested in the future and having healthy children and all that, but it's just, I think this is one of those things where they made it up, but it's okay that they made it up because it's true somewhere. I don't know. I just wish people wouldn't make shit up, because it is probably true, but they just need to find a real story about it, because whatever that story you just told is...
Yeah, and I mean, I'll come out and admit it. I'm not vaccinated, and I'm wary about going out with girls who are, because I'm pushing 40, and I want to have kids.
Yeah, you need to get on that, like
I'm trying.
Tomorrow.
Well, I'm quarantined for the next 5 days, so I can't do it tomorrow, but...
Yeah, whatever. You can start your online profile, your dating profile on christiansonly.com tomorrow.
But I with the menstrual cycle thing, that does concern me a little bit.
Yeah, it's true.
And there is somebody in my life, and I'm not going to say who it is. I've told you about this off mic, so you know who I'm talking about. But there is somebody in my life who had 8-month miscarriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if she was vaccinated or not, but given the fact that she worked in the healthcare industry, statistically, I would say it's probably a good shot that she was. No pun intended.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the reason that it happened, but, we're sitting here with this new thing that's out here that nobody knows about. And as other people have pointed out when we were talking about the extended menstrual cycle this morning, you're urged not to take aspirin when you're pregnant.
You shouldn't take anything when you're pregnant.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know enough about this. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I don't know if this is the case. I know that there are statistics out there that I can cite from, but other than that, that's really all I have.
The whole thing is very scary for our future.
Mm-hmm. All right. We're going to have to skip the Kazakhstan stuff because we are going to have to go in and head over and raid our friend Stephen Ignoramus at the end of this. So if you guys are over on Twitch, stick around and we will go and do the raiding at the end of this here. But before we head out of here, I do have a little bit of surprise stupidity. Then we'll go check back in with the live chat from this. And this was definitely one of the funnier things off of this, because it's not, I mean, it's stupid, obviously, but it's really just people coming out and reacting to something that came out stupid from the internet. So let me get this queued up over here so you can see it as well. We are reading from Twitter for this one. Get it up on the webpage for you. This is the armor of a soldier who was wounded, quote, by a cannonball at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. Let's get the video going around here so you can see just how well the wound went. And there it is on the right side of the chest. Straight through, and a hole came out of the back.
He was wounded.
He was wounded. Half his chest is missing. He was wounded. One lung, possibly his heart.
Like, they could at least said mortally wounded.
And, of course, the internet got on this everywhere that they could. Cozy Gamer Gimp says, if this guy was wounded, the armor was holding him back. I'm sorry, if this guy was only wounded, the armor was holding him back. To which Skybright, hashtag Free Palestine, says, or puts out the gif of the Black Knight from Monty Python. I'm invincible! But yes, for the most part, most of the country looked at this and questioned just how bad the wound was. Because, yeah, that went straight through.
Just a flesh wound.
That's exactly what I thought when I saw that, too. It's just a flesh wound. Yeah, that's an impressive gaping hole. That, like I said,
Yeah,
guy's probably missing a lung. And in 1815, I would say that's usually a death sentence.
Usually? Like, I think today, if this happened in a hospital, it would be a death sentence. Like, medical staff already suited up ready. This is still a death sentence.
But, yeah, that's what it is. All right, let's grab the live chat here and let's see what they had to say, and then we'll head out of here. Let's back up to this. Ron Helt says extrapolating. We read that one already. Life to the Max is here. Randy Crush says NPCs don't have feeling. Chilaga says ice wall talk. I like it.
I was trying so hard not to mention we were talking about Antarctica. I was picking my words very carefully. Let's just put it that way.
Seawall is here, riding in to chat fashionably late in the armored half-track. Randy says it's like the virus is a naturally occurring genetic sequence in human DNA. Number 2 says the chef probably overheard. Yeah, he probably did. Chilaga says amazing Bears reference. And he likes Aaron Rodgers now. Yeah, people in Chicago don't typically like Aaron Rodgers, but yeah, they like him now, especially if they don't like the vaccination. Let's see. Randy says, turns out the view is patient zero for Corona AIDS. Spartan says, Kim Kardashian goes after setting black murderers who violently killed white people to get them out or reduce sentences.
It's crazy.
Life to the Max says, so do my bros, Chilaga. Spartan says the left is engaged in a racial war against the whites, especially white males. They don't want to stop racism, they want to turn it on the whip. Mr. Zed says, just a small change, one chromosome to another. Chilaga says, I thought this was 2026 news. Chilaga says, Katie is right, New York City likes some Veed. Chilaga says, Waterloo with a thumbs up. Mr. Zed says, tourniquet around the neck to stop the bleeding. And that is going to be it for the day. Well, episode 1 in the books. Did you enjoy yourself?
Yes, I need to get that. I need to get it to where I can have the chat up on the screen where I can see it, because I can't. This late in the day, my eyeballs don't work as well anymore. I can't see my phone.
Well,
we'll work on that before next week. It'll be better.
I'll help you out with that here. Let's get out of here for the day.
All right.
So, thanks everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat with us, who came by and hung out, kept us honest, kept us going, and kept us in everything. If you want to finish the conversation with me, you can find me in the Discord. You can find me on Twitter, that is at EdsBlog Twitter with a 1 in place of the I. You can find me on Instagram at JEdgar101, or 102 rather, because 101 was already taken. You can find me at any of those locations, so go look me up and come finish the conversation. If you want to go and finish the conversation with my wonderful co-host, let them know where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at KTZed or on Instagram at KTZed.
Go and check both of those out, and go and follow along with us and finish the conversation. And hey, if you're just catching up now and you want to catch us back on demand, once the video processes, you can find us here on YouTube, over on BitChute.com, and over on the audio platforms. Go and hang out with us there. Anywhere you can find your podcast, you can come and find us. And we are going to head out of here for the day. And as always, as I always say at the end of these programs, never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. KTZed, lead everybody out here with some last words.
Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Take care.